forward. And being mayor of Johannesburg is a very significant role. If Johannesburg were a province, it would be the 5th largest province in South Africa. And while he was mayor, he led a very challenging coalition government that was able to strip a budget that was full of the waste of international travel and conferences and DSTV and flower arrangements and all the things that money was wasted on, and redirected towards the infrastructure needs of our city. 2 billion rand was redirected at those needs, that was able to make sure that roads, electricity and water went up from 58% to 72% of the capital budget. We stand here in the inner city of Johannesburg, where Herman Mashaba's initiatives resulted in 139 hijacked buildings being handed over to the private sector that were to deliver 32 billion rand in investment in an area that needed investment, that were to create 14,000 permanent jobs and 20,000 affordable accommodation units for people who would otherwise be living far away, spending 40% of their salary on transport. And he fought corruption. He appointed a former Scorpion who investigated over 6,000 cases of corruption totaling more than 36 billion rand, and over 800 people were arrested under his watch. And South Africa needs someone who doesn't just talk about the fight against corruption, but someone who fights corruption. He expanded the JMPD by over 50%, with 1,500 new police officers on the ground, and for a moment, people in Johannesburg were starting to feel safer. He extended the operating hours of clinics and electrified informal settlements, and as a matter of fact, it was Herman Mashaba who electrified Kliptown, the home of the Freedom Charter, all those years into our democracy, because the ANC simply could not get around to do it while they governed. And while Herman Mashaba was mayor, Johannesburg moved forward. And that is why when you see the poster of our presidential candidate, we call him Mr. Fix-It, Herman Fix-It Mashaba, because South Africans need to look towards leaders with a track record in government, and a good track record in government. Because South Africans have been lied to so many times. Political leaders like Panyaza Lesufi and President Ramaphosa stand before the South African people and lie, and they say they're going to do things that never happened. I stand next to a man who I'm very pleased to introduce you today, who has a track record in doing what he says and saying what he does. And that is something that we need to get behind as a party and as a country. And with that, it's my great pleasure to introduce our presidential candidate, the man who is going to fix South Africa, Herman Mashaba.
Thank you, Michael, and members of the media, fellow actionists, and most importantly, you, my fellow South Africans. I greet you in front of the historic Carlton Hotel in the heart of the Johannesburg inner city to unveil ActionSA's posters for the Watershed 2024 national elections. We have chosen this location for what it symbolizes about the decline in South Africa under the ruling party over the last 30 years, and its failure to deliver on the promise of a better life for all. The Carlton Hotel was once known as the jewel of Johannesburg inner city. It was a world-renowned 5-star hotel and hosted many celebrities including Whitney Houston, Mick Jagger, Whitney Goldberg, and the others. It was for this reason that in May 1994, the ANC chose this very location to host its election victory celebration. Many of the country's top black industrialists and entrepreneurs who contributed to ANC's campaign election, including myself, were invited to attend this auspicious event. As you can see here, Nelson Mandela addressing us after his election. The symbolism of the ANC hosting its victory celebration in this hotel behind us, as its heyday during the dark days of apartheid, was not only lost on us. It spoke to a shift from a minority-owned economy to one where all South Africans will share in its wealth. Like many South Africans at the time, I was excited about what the post-apartheid South Africa had to offer, and eagerly contributed financially to bring about this democratic change. It was my dream that no longer would my employees and I be limited where we could sell our products due to senseless hustles of the time. That I would be allowed to freely work with my business partners without government interference. I bought into the promise of a better life for all and eagerly looked forward to a government that would improve the lives of our people by creating millions of new jobs, by unlocking the potential of a new generation of black entrepreneurs. I believe this would usher in a new era of shared economic prosperity. I believe my story of Black Like Me would be replicated in many factories across the length and breadth of our country. But I would be sorely left disappointed. Just a couple years after the ActionSA hosted its victory celebration at this very same hotel, it permanently closed its doors. The rise of lawlessness in the Johannesburg inner city made it difficult and unfeasible to continue operations, while a breakdown in service delivery made the inner city unattractive to inhabitants and tourists alike. Infrastructure was left to decay or be vandalized. Crime and grime set in, and investment in new infrastructure came to a total standstill. When Translate bought this building complex in 1999, proposal after proposal was accepted to renovate the precinct, but nothing came of it as the inner city deteriorated. I saw this firsthand during my time as executive mayor of the city of Johannesburg. Raiding buildings that have been hijacked by criminal syndicates and were subjecting residents to the most inhuman of conditions. The story of what happened to the Carlton Hotel would be replicated across the city of Johannesburg and indeed across South Africa under the ruling party. Today, the Herman Industrial Park, where I helped launch Black Like Me in January of 1985, is a deserted shell of itself as the manufacturing sector left South Africa in search of more favorable alternatives overseas and other places, with greater incentives and lower cost of doing business, and a government that considered the private sector to be a partner, not an adversary. Economic growth stalled, averaging 1% over 15 years, while our expanded unemployment the highest in decades. Today, fellow South Africans, over 26 million South Africans are dependent on social grants for just basic survival. Celebrate. It is black South Africans who remain the worst off in our society today. Fellow South Africans, the promise of a better life for all that Mandela celebrated at Carlton Centre in 1994 did not become a reality. 30 years since 1994, most of our people are struggling and poverty is on the rise. The brief gains were made shortly after democracy have been reversed through corruption, the breakdown of the rule of law, and selfish and unprotected leaders. Misguided economic policies such as broad-based Black Economic Empowerment Act of 2003 were designed to enrich a selected few, such as President Cyril Ramaphosa himself, while communities in Khayelitsha and Orange Farm were left behind. Instead of growing a broad black middle class, the ruling party chose to benefit a small group of politically connected entrepreneurs who became wealthy through the exploitation of state resources. During the state capture years, this was nothing less than outright, shameless looting. But despite the signs of concern, South Africa's story will not end here. A new chapter is being written as we speak. Fellow South Africans, this year we have the first real opportunity to bring positive change and hope to South Africa and remove a cruel government that has failed to deliver on its promises after 30 years in government. This year, we have the opportunity to try something new by taking action to remove the ruling party and replace it with a government that will put the needs of South Africans first. But we need not do this as an armchair critic or by sitting on our hands. It was when I realized that I entered politics, that is when I realized that when I entered politics in 2015. I made the decision to take action, and today I want to ask you, fellow South Africans, to do the same. Counter to what some people would like us to believe, South Africans do not need to be rescued. In a democracy, citizens are not helpless victims waiting to be rescued or as if they're drowning in a sea. Instead, South African citizens are strong and resilient with the agency to make decisions that will determine their future. They have the power to fix South Africa by taking action, because only action will fix South Africa. In the face of a failing government, enterprising industrials and innovative citizens, and a private sector step up to fight the COVID-19 pandemic, they have fixed potholes, generated electricity, and protected their communities from crime. When faced with the biggest crisis in our country, it was ordinary South Africans who took action that helped us move forward. Because only action will fix South Africa. And this year, everyday South Africans will again take action to fix our country. It is this desire to take action to fix South Africa that unites us as a nation, because only action can fix South Africa. This year, South Africans must take action by exercising their right to vote and hold this failed government to account. We must take action to vote for a new government that can end load shedding, restore the rule of law, grow our economy, and create millions of new jobs. We cannot expect to do the same thing, and expect a different outcome. We cannot expect that by continuing to vote for the ruling party that things may change. Instead, we need to be brave and consider a new alternative that will unite South Africans with a common goal of fixing our country to the country South Africa that we all love. We need a new party of action with accurate, practical and actionable solutions to our most significant challenges. We need a party that will take action to put South Africa and South African people first, not just to enrich themselves. We need a party that will take action to restore business confidence and inspire private sector investments in our economy to create millions of new jobs. We need a party that will take action to restore the rule of law, provide quality education for all, and ensure access to good health care even in our rural communities. And we need a party that takes action to protect South Africa's sovereignty, secure our borders, and implement a foreign policy guided by human rights and the pursuit of mutual economic benefit. Fellow South Africans, we don't need more of the same. We don't need more empty promises. The time for talking is over. Now is the time for action. Why? Because only action will fix and can fix South Africa. Thank you very much. I'm excited with this day today, historic day in the history of South Africa, as I indicated, in front of the hotel where Nelson Mandela just correct. This is the place, this hotel, where Nelson Mandela invited some of us, including myself, to celebrate the victory, which some of us contributed to make it happen. And on this day, as you can see, in May of 1994, Nelson Mandela promised a better life for all. 10 years later, South Africans are seeing a nightmare. South Africans are seeing a nightmare. So today, why we've decided to have this event here in front of the Carlton Hotel is to say to South Africans, we have another opportunity to bring a better life for all. Thank you very much. So therefore, it gives me great pleasure to invite our national chairperson, Herman, and I, to to unveil our poster for the 2024 provincial and local government. And I'm saying to our men and women and our activists throughout the length and breadth of our country, in the suburbs, in the townships, in informal settlements, anywhere in the country, we want to say within the next 16 hours that South Africa is still green, so that South Africans come the 29th of May and usher in a new democratic dispensation, a one that will bring a better life for all. Thank you very much, Michael. You here.
Jointly.
Within the next 16 hours, you're going to be seeing these posters throughout the country. You're going to see them in all 9 languages, in obviously respective areas and communities where they are relevant. But at the end of the day, the presidential one will see throughout the country. Only action will fix our people.